What's going on, everybody? Kate here. Welcome back to our shop. You guys already know what I'm going to tell you. We are super busy. We're building all sorts of trikes, milling out new parts, installing motors. Fun fact, over half of the trikes in our build queue include an electric option, so super busy installing all of your motors. This video has to do with an email that we got from a customer this morning with a question that we pretty much get on a weekly basis. It said, "Dear Utah Trikes, I really like the video of the Annihilator 559 I saw on YouTube, but I've read in a few forums that indirect steering is significantly better than direct steering. Is that true? If so, what other model would you recommend that has indirect steering?" This question has a lengthy answer, and hopefully we won't make it even more confusing for you. Stick with us, I promise it'll be worth it. When we talk about types of trike steering, what are we even talking about? Handlebars and linkages, that's what we're talking about, but it's not so simple, so let's talk a little bit about steering geometry and strip the trike down to its most basic elements. We'll start with a wheel so that we have something to turn. Our wheel is mounted onto the spindles, kingpins, forks, pivots, whatever you want to call them, really. The spindle is then installed into the head tube of your trike. In order for both wheels to turn at the same time, they need to be linked together. The easiest way to do that is by connecting the spindle arms with a tie rod. The actual position that the tie rod connects to the spindle is important because that position determines if the wheels will turn differently or not. We'll look at two wheels with the tie rod connected in the straight down location. This is called parallel steering. When we move the wheels, you'll see that they both move parallel to each other, and this is not ideal for trikes or anything that has two front wheels, to be totally honest with you. When your two front wheels are connected in this way, every time you turn, the outside wheel is going to slip, affecting handling and causing your tire to wear prematurely. This is where Ackerman geometry comes in. The goal with steering is to come up with the best angle to give you as close to perfect Ackerman compensation as you can. Generally, an angle that intersects our rear axle and pivot gives us a pretty good approximation of Ackerman geometry. We won't go in depth on the engineering behind Ackerman compensation in this video, but essentially by shortening the tie rod, we allow the inside wheel to turn sharper than the outside wheel. This eliminates the tire wear problem and makes your trike handle better through sharp turns. Now that we've got our basic geometry set up, it's time to add handlebars so that you can actually steer your trike. The most basic way to do this is to add some handlebars to each of our spindles. Now we can actually steer. This is the most basic direct steering system there is. For the most part, all direct steering trikes are going to function in the same way. Trikes with direct steering include Sunseeker, KMX, and Cat Trike models. Keep in mind, different manufacturers will choose different styles of handlebars, which might provide different hand positions and different degrees of adjustability.
I'm gonna tell you guys about different handlebar setups for direct steering on trikes. Starting with this Cat Trike 559 that the guys were building yesterday. Conveniently, it's still up on the stand. So that works. The cat trikes all come with the 2-piece handlebars, except for the Eola, but we can still do it on the Eola. You loosen these 2 bolts right here, and you can change the overall pitch of your handlebar. If you want to ride like that, I guess you could. I don't know why you would, but it slides forward on this lower handlebar, slides back. So there's a lot of adjustability just by those 2 bolts. That's not it though. No. There's these 2 bolts. And then you know what that does? More adjustability. You can then slide the lower part over, slide it back. Make sure if you're sliding it out, you don't make it hit the tire. It's not gonna make your tire roll. So we're gonna move on to some other trikes, but first let me show you a few fundamental components to direct steering, such as the head tube, the spindle that goes through the head tube, along with the steering spindle. So cat trikes are really cool because they use this Teflon steering dampener on the top, which actually stiffens up the steering. Down on the bottom, they have a sealed cartridge. And then, as I mentioned, the spindle, which is the rod that the bearing and steering dampener sit on inside of the head tube. In between the 2 spindles, you will have a tie rod linkage connecting the 2. So as one moves, the other will move. And need I mention, it's Ackerman. Here we have the Sunseeker CXS. Not just any CXS. Let me go over a little bit on how custom this is. Super cool powder coat we did. Metallic candy blue, you already know. Back here we have a 26-inch rear wheel and our extension plates. Essentially that's all folks on how custom this got. But this features Sun's horizontal handlebars. Not quite as much adjustability, to be completely honest. There's these 2 bolts. And then, try not to fumble your tool. Your adjustability is essentially pitching it forward and pitching it backwards. Some people prefer these handlebars for the sole fact, don't drop your coffee, for the sole fact that your hands are sitting like this as opposed to this. Up next, KMX handlebars. So, KMX direct steering. Instead of 2 bolts, you have 1 bolt. You loosen this guy. As you can see, you can ride with your handlebars down here. I don't know why you would, but KMX did it. You can pitch it in, which, as I said before, I don't know why you would. The most comfortable position is how it was out here. Keep in mind that with KMX's, it's really wide on the handlebars. Not all KMX's, I guess just the Coyote, actually. Other KMX's, the bars are in more, so. And that's it for the different handlebars on our direct steering trikes.
Now that we've seen direct steering, let's dial back to our basic trike frame and look at indirect steering. Rather than having a tie rod that connects the wheels straight across, indirect steering has two tie rod linkages that connect the spindle to a pivot point that is affixed to the handlebars. You'll find indirect steering on trikes like ICE, HP Velotechnic, and Azub models. These models still have Ackerman compensation. That's something that is built into your trike. We'll talk more about that in an upcoming video.
It's really hot. Here we have indirect steering. Azub tie fly, Scorpion FX, and the ICE VTX. With the Scorpion and ICE models, excluding the VTX, you will have either two bolts here that you loosen or a quick release lever clamp thing to allow you to adjust it. I do recommend if it's if you're going to be adjusting it quite a bit, or trying to transport it and you need the handlebars folded down, get the quick release lever for your handlebars because it's a lot easier. But essentially you can pitch it back, forward, slide it in, slide it out. And that is your adjustability. Now you still have two head tubes like with direct steering, and you also have a center pivot. So the two tie rods are connected to your handlebars, which are off of the center pivot. Now, as I said, VTX, your adjustability is not there at all, and that's because it's a racing trike. Other ICE models do have adjustability that is really similar to what I just showed you with the HP Scorpion. Over here with the tie fly. Oh, one thing I should mention actually is that the ICEs have indexed like teeth things. So when you fold down the bar, you can fold it back up and it goes in. Cue B-roll, maybe. So with Azub, you can only adjust your bars forward or back. No width adjustability. But because they're so awesome, you don't need to adjust it that much, right? Forward and back, and that's it for indirect trikes. There's a customer at the door. Now, Kate, behind the camera, what if you're not sure if you want indirect or direct? What is your option?
Where's a trike that'll let me do either or?
Exactly. Now, if you want to do direct or indirect and switch between with a little bit of work, we have the Revolution Getaway, which has the center pivot, and you can do the indirect with two tie rods, or you can go direct steering off of the head tube. You would need a different spindle that sticks out longer, but it's an option. It's a trike we build, It's one of our custom trikes. It does direct and indirect, no biggie.
Obviously, there are differences when we talk about these two types of steering. Direct steering is a bit more simple and can be less expensive. The handlebars are more adjustable and you have more room to attach all of your favorite accessories. Lots of riders who prefer direct steering have stated that they like the way that they can feel the road with direct steering and that they feel like they have a little bit more control. On the other hand, feedback from riders who prefer indirect steering have said that direct steering can feel twitchy and have stated that indirect steering provides a smoother ride. This makes sense because with indirect steering, your hands are more removed from the wheels, which means you won't feel the vibration from the road quite as much. Indirect steering also feels a bit more intuitive for lots of riders. It's more of a push-pull motion rather than the side-to-side motion of direct steering. Our suggestion to you as a rider is to choose the trike, not the steering. While the direct and indirect steering will feel a little bit different, this won't actually affect the way your trike handles. Aspects of steering geometry that will affect the handling, things like castor and camber, head tube inclination, and Ackerman compensation are things that are actually designed into the trike. A trike with direct steering is going to have Ackerman compensation, and a trike with indirect steering is going to have Ackerman compensation. In the future, we'll create a more in-depth video on steering geometry if you want to learn more. You might prefer one type of steering over the other, and each has its advantages and disadvantages. Ultimately, it comes down to a question of preference. We certainly recommend test riding a trike if you have that available to you before you ride, so you can get a feel for the different types of steering. If you guys like this video and would like to see one that covers steering geometry more exhaustively, please comment below. In the meantime, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, be sure to turn on your notifications so you can stay caught up with our newest videos. Those of you who ride trikes, let us know, what kind of steering do you prefer? Are you a direct steer? Are you an indirect steer? Have you seen the tiller steering on our E-Quad? And what do you think about that? Let us know down in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Intro/riding shots.
Now, because I've been taking a sip every time we've been doing the shots, I'm out of coffee already. So how do you feel about Doom?
It's pretty good.
I went bowling last night and I'm a little sore, I'll be honest. Whew.
Just pretty good?
It's very good.
Very good, guys. You heard it here first.
A little spin on it when I bowl. That's how I bowl. Other people bowl differently, but that's how I bowl. So.
You ever like try to pick up a coin and you don't have fingernails, so it sucks? That happens to me all the time. So we'll put this back on.